discovered an incredible truth. My daughter's shocking words unveiled a surprising transformation. Lisa's eyes darted around the dimly lit kitchen as she slipped off her shoes, trying not to disturb the stillness that clung to the air. The remnants of her long shift at the hospital buzzed uncomfortably in her mind. She shrugged off her scrubs, still stained with the day's work, and sank into the chair at the kitchen table, a familiar battlefield filled with worry and exhaustion. Every heartbeat echoed in her ears, a constant reminder of the increasing pressure she felt. Days passed in a haze of routines, bills, and quiet moments filled with what-ifs. Helping patients meant everything to her. It was more than just a job. Yet, every evening at home brought with it the looming threat of losing everything. Their old family home, filled with laughter but now haunted by silence and fear of impending bankruptcy, felt like a prison. She looked up as Emily, her 17-year-old daughter, shuffled quietly into the room, her introverted nature becoming more pronounced under the weight of their circumstances. "Mom?" Emily's voice broke through Lisa's racing thoughts, revealing a flicker of vulnerability. "Can we talk?" Lisa nodded, feeling the ache of her own guilt wash over her. She fought against tears. A single paycheck stood between them and the possibility of losing their home. But Emily's spirit shone brightly as she shared her reflections about Grandma, the woman who dreamed of being a doctor but never dared to chase that dream. Lisa felt pride swell in her chest, thinking of the legacy they shared. "I want to pursue medicine," Emily confessed, determination lighting her eyes. "I don't want to live the life she had to." Lisa's heart twisted, torn between overwhelming pride and heavy uncertainty. "Can we really?" Lisa whispered, breaking the weight of silence, desperate to reassure her daughter. The looming college applications piled on more tension. Doors were slowly shutting. Teachers brushed aside Emily's potential, convinced they'd never amount to anything more than their economic status determined. Lisa could see the cracks forming in Emily's resolve as they faced systemic biases that echoed painfully in their lives. "Keep pushing forward," Lisa urged, even as desperation gripped her. "Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." The pressure amplified in the days leading to acceptance notifications. Despite the salt of anxiety running through her veins, Lisa couldn't hold back the hope that swirled inside. This could mean everything. She remembered watching the clock tick, each second feeling like a lifetime. When the emails finally came, their living room grew stiflingly quiet. Hope danced around them, mingled with the scent of stale coffee. Emily's scholarship announcement hit like a thunderclap, stirring both triumph and despair. But reality crashed down when whispers of privilege and inequity filled their small town. The community cracked beneath the pressure, exposing uncomfortable truths they couldn't ignore. Lisa felt her stomach twist, knowing this could redefine everything. When a knock on the door shattered their fragile world, she was unprepared for the secrets that would pour forth, secrets that threatened to unravel the fabric of everything she had fought for. Standing at this precipice, she realized she would have to confront not only the future of their family legacy, but also the darkest corners of her own heart. What would it take to protect Emily and their dream? In that moment, everything felt impossibly heavy, and the path forward grew murky and fraught with uncertainty. Lisa heard the sudden knock echo through the house, reverberating like a portent of doom in the silence that enveloped them. She looked at Emily, her daughter's eyes wide in disbelief. Time seemed to freeze as Lisa rose from the chair, instinctively feeling the weight of her responsibilities pressing down on her shoulders. Each step toward the door felt heavy, laced with trepidation about what awaited them beyond the threshold. Opening the door revealed a tall figure, Mr. Green, the bank manager, wearing a stony expression that set her heart racing. His presence was an unwelcome reminder of the economic tightrope they were walking. "Lisa," he said, his voice steady but devoid of warmth, "we need to discuss your mortgage. It's urgent." Just those words squeezed the air from her lungs. She stepped back to allow him in, her mind racing with panic and possibilities. As he moved into the living room, She could feel Emily's gaze boring into her, both frightened and curious. "Have a seat," Lisa managed to say, though her voice trembled slightly. With mounting dread, she saw Mr. Green settle into the chair opposite them, his demeanor calculating, as if he were not just delivering news but judging their very worth as individuals. "I've reviewed your financial situation," he began, his tone crisp. "There are options available, but they require action on your part. You're at risk of foreclosure, and I believe we can work something out, but it's contingent on your response to these conditions." His words struck hard. Lisa's thoughts spiraled into a whirlwind. How could they be so close to losing it all? She fought against a wave of despair as her instincts whipped into high gear. "What do you need from me?" she asked, trying to maintain composure. Mr. Green crossed his arms. "It's straightforward. You'll need to accept a second job, meet specific income requirements, and be willing to negotiate with your lenders. It's demanding, but avoiding foreclosure is challenging." The air felt charged, as the weight of the world settled on Lisa's chest. What if there was no way to ensure both her job and support for Emily's goals? The thought of depriving Emily of the opportunity to pursue medicine sent icy fingers through her spine. "Mom," Emily interjected softly, her voice a murmur against the rising tide of chaos. Should we consider a different place? Maybe it's time to start over?" Hearing her daughter's suggestion snapped Lisa back to the moment. It was typical of Emily to act mature beyond her years, but Lisa also recognized that this was not just a pragmatic response. It was her daughter's attempt to shield them both from further pain. Still, acknowledging the sacrifice felt like a betrayal to the dreams they both harbored. "I won't let you throw away your dreams," Lisa said firmly, though uncertainty crept back in as she glanced at Mr. Green. "I can figure this out. We can figure this out. We have to." But the doubts whirled in her mind, taunting her thoughts. Did she have the strength to fight against the odds that seemed stacked against them? As Mr. Green launched into the specifics of financial options, Lisa felt the gnawing fear turn into determination. Deep within, a flicker ignited as she realized she had a choice: to remain a victim of circumstances or to challenge the system that sought to define their lives. "I'll take the job," she declared suddenly, surprising even herself. "And I won't sit back and let this dictate our lives." This decision ignited a rebellious spark within her, resonating louder than the fears slowly beginning to fuse into the background. Yet as Mr. Green began to outline the next steps, the prickling realization dawned on her. This was only the start of a much larger confrontation, a battle to secure their future, not just financially but for their dreams as well. In that moment of clarity, Lisa understood she would not only be confronting external obstacles, but also digging deep into her own capacity for resilience and change. Any path forward demanded not just relentless effort, but also the courage to face uncomfortable truths about herself. As she turned to Emily, who looked both perplexed and reassured, Lisa felt the weight of her resolve solidifying into something tangible. Yet doubt lingered in the shadows. What other secrets would she have to unveil, both within and around her, as they carved out their new reality? As Emily looked at her mother, an unspoken question hung in the air. "What will this mean for us, Mom?" Lisa took a deep breath, feeling the enormity of her choices press around her. "It means we fight," she replied, voice steady but heart racing. This was just the beginning, and as they faced the tumult, she knew there were deeper revelations ahead, dark corners of her past waiting to be illuminated. But what truths awaited her in those shadows, and would confronting them enhance her ability to protect her family, or shatter the fragile hope they clung to? The questions hung there, heavy with implications, as the night deepened around them. Lisa hardly slept that night, her mind a tempest of thoughts spiraling around the crushing weight of tomorrow. The sense of uncertainty clung to her like a shroud as she lay awake, the soft rhythm of Emily's breathing providing a faint comfort amid her storm. With every tick of the clock echoing in the stillness, she considered her options: what it meant to accept the second job, the practicalities of managing a relentless schedule, and whether she truly had the tenacity to confront her fears head-on. Morning light crept through the window, casting slivers of brightness on the darkened corners of their home. As she stood at the kitchen counter, pouring cereal, Lisa felt the dull pang of exhaustion. Yet there was a flicker of resolve that began to unfold within her, a determination to carve out a different narrative, one where they did not become prisoners of circumstance. Emily came into the kitchen, sleep still lingering in her eyes, but there was a spark in her gaze. "What are we going to do today?" she asked, her voice brightening the air with curiosity. "What we need to." The words escaped Lisa's lips instinctively, reflecting a newfound clarity. Today was about exploring opportunities, not just surviving but strategizing how to turn the tide. "Can we go to the library? I want to look at books about medicine," Emily said, her enthusiasm contagious. "Absolutely. Let us make it a day of learning." Lisa felt a surge of pride swell within her. This wasn't just about financial turmoil. It was about nurturing Emily's dreams while finding ways to both protect and inspire her. As they walked into the library, the smell of ancient pages and polished wood enveloped them. Lisa watched Emily meander toward the shelves, her fingers gliding over the spines of books, like a child mapping out uncharted territory. In that moment, Lisa considered the importance of this learning and investment in the future they both craved, both a safety net and a beacon of hope. While Emily immersed herself in her search, Lisa sat at a nearby table, her laptop open to job listings. The sheer variety was daunting. She found positions that required specific skills and others that turned her stomach with the simple thought of juggling too much. Yet, as she scanned through the options, she sensed the flicker of an idea taking form. What if she combined her love for the written word with the practical need for extra income? Lisa had always enjoyed writing, infusing her thoughts into blogs and articles during her free time. Perhaps freelancing would offer a flexible schedule, a chance to hone her skills, and a potential financial cushion. With a newfound focus, she began to search for freelance writing jobs. The clicks on the keyboard felt empowering, each keystroke a brick laid in the foundation of a path forward. She found opportunities to write for various websites and even a few local publications. Just when the excitement of possibility surged within her, a familiar dread crept in. What if this wouldn't be enough? The insecurities that loomed like shadows filled her head. Was she talented enough? Could she meet deadlines with her already packed schedule? Resolving to counter those doubts, Lisa decided to pitch a couple of articles, simple yet meaningful, based on her own experiences and observations as a single mother, highlighting resilience and determination. If she was going to jump into this, she wanted her words to have purpose, to inspire others while feeding her own ambitions. With her pitches sent out, she turned to watch Emily engrossed in yet another book about anatomy. That moment of connection, their shared fight for dreams, reassured her that whatever came next, they would face it together. As they left the library, Lisa felt lighter, like each step carried the weight of possibilities instead of fears. The day had armed her with new resolutions, fresh perspectives. But lingering beneath her newfound confidence was a subtle question, a sharp reminder of the fragility of her plans. What if her words didn't resonate? What if the perceived talents she held weren't enough to shift their trajectory? The sun dipped low on the horizon, painting the sky in hues of oranges and purples, as Lisa and Emily walked home. Amid this beauty, doubt wrestled with determination. Their journey was only just unfolding. What awaited them on the horizon? A chance to uncover hidden talents both in herself and Emily, or the crushing weight of inadequacy proving too much to bear. As night began to settle in, the whispers of the unknown beckoned, igniting a restless ache for clarity and truth within Lisa. In the shadows, she sensed challenges looming, ready to test the limits of her resolve once more. The following morning, the air felt charged with a new energy as Lisa awoke to the soft chirping of birds outside. It marked a day that would require boldness yet again, a theme that seemed to be woven into her life. As she prepared breakfast, a low hum of anxiety threaded through her thoughts. Her pitches lay submerged in uncertainty, waiting for responses that could either elevate her aspirations or dash them. Sipping her coffee, she recalled Emily's excitement from the library visit. Just as Emily had taken steps toward her passion, perhaps she too needed to embrace that same spirit of search. Shaking off the fog of doubt, Lisa decided today would be about creating something tangible, an article that poured out her thoughts and fears, coupled with the hope that her journey might inspire others in similar situations. With Emily busily engaged in her morning commitments, Lisa retreated to her makeshift workspace in the corner of their living room. The sunlight spilled through the windows, illuminating her with a sense of purpose. Fingers hovered above the keyboard, thoughts jostling in her mind. She needed a hook, something that would resonate. After a moment's contemplation, she gathered her courage and began to type, The words flowed first clumsily but gradually with more ease. She wrote honestly about her struggle with self-doubt, how fear often clouded her potential, and the emerging realization that resilience was a choice rather than a passive state. In uncovering her vulnerabilities, she discovered strength. The act of writing became an unexpected catharsis. About an hour in, a soft voice broke through her concentration. "Mom, can I show you something?" Emily stood at the doorway, a book cradled in her arms, her eyes sparkling with urgency. "Of course. What is it?" Lisa replied, her attention shifting completely. "Look, I found a chapter on doctors and the difference they make." Emily beamed, her excitement infectious. "It talks about how they support families through tough times, and that's like us, right?" Lisa smiled, her heart swelling with pride. "Exactly, honey. Doctors can be life changers." But as she examined her daughter's innocent enthusiasm, she felt something larger awaken inside her. The parallel between her daughter's growing understanding of important roles in society and her own burgeoning realization of her influence with words anchored her thoughts. "Do you think I could write something like this?" Emily asked, her small hand still gripping the book. "Absolutely. You have a voice and it's powerful. Just like this book." Lisa returned to her work, invigorated. "But I think I'm starting to understand emotions in a way that can make a difference too." Emily nodded, her brow furrowed in concentration. "So we both want to help people?" "Yes, we both want to make a difference," Lisa replied, feeling a shared connection solidify in that moment. After some time, the rhythm of typing resumed, but the energy shifted, less frantic and more deliberate. Lisa had started to structure her piece cohesively around their conversation. She recognized that vulnerability could be a catalyst for hope, and that sharing her journey could empower others facing their own struggles. As the hours melted away, Lisa finally hit send on her article. She leaned back, a wave of exhaustion washing over her, but beneath it was a veil of relief. Whatever happened next, she was taking control, proclaiming her voice instead of letting it hide in the shadows. Just as she breathed out a weary sigh, the ping of her phone rang through the silence of the room. A response? Her heart raced as she glanced at the screen. It was from one of the publications, a request for a revision on her article. The request lit up Lisa's thoughts like fireworks. Revisions? They wanted to work with her. The excitement coursed through her, mingling with apprehension. They believed in her potential, but what if she couldn't meet their expectations? With that uncertainty swirling in her mind, Lisa faced a choice: to retreat back into safety or embrace the challenge. A realization washed over her. This was her opportunity to grow, not just as a writer but as a mother, as a person willing to face her fears directly. The sun dipped below the horizon again, casting long shadows in their home. Outside, the evening turned murky, but inside, the light of possibility flickered brightly. What awaited her in the face of this chance? What other truths about herself and her capacity would she unearth in the coming days as the stakes grew higher with each chance she dared to take? The morning light broke through the curtains as Lisa rose, her mind buzzing with thoughts of the revisions needed for her article. The request had awakened a blend of hope and dread within her. She could feel her pulse quicken as she walked to the kitchen, replaying the editor's words. They believed in her, but what if she let them down? As she brewed her coffee, Lisa stared out of the window, watching as the world moved seamlessly around her. Outside, children played, couples walked hand in hand, entirely engrossed in their lives, while she wrestled with her self-worth. What was it that made her doubt her abilities so profoundly? She needed to answer that if she was to rewrite her piece. Lisa settled at her desk, determined this time to engage fully with the feedback she had received. Revising, she realized, wasn't just about correcting the text. It was about deepening her understanding of her message. She would need to clarify her emotional journey, show how resilience wasn't merely theoretical. It was a daily choice that shaped her existence and others. As she reread her article, she struggled with the notion of vulnerability and its implications. Could she truly convey her struggles without appearing weak? It was an unpleasant thought, yet one that offered a sense of liberation. If she allowed herself to be seen, perhaps she could connect with others who felt similarly lost. Resilience wasn't a simple narrative. It was multifaceted and layered. Like her own life, with renewed determination, Lisa began revising her piece, infusing it with more candor. She aimed to illustrate the tangled web of doubt and resolve that characterized her journey. Each sentence became a thread, weaving a tapestry of her experiences, the days she felt paralyzed by fear juxtaposed against moments of bravery that pushed her forward. Like her daughter's beaming smile the day they visited the library, a few hours into her work, Lisa paused, her fingers hovering above the keyboard. It dawned on her that this was more than just a revision. It was a transformation. She was not just sharing her story, she was marking her evolution, asserting herself in a world that often drowned voices like hers in noise. But even as her excitement grew, another wave of doubt emerged. Was this enough to truly resonate with her readers? Setting her coffee aside, Lisa stood and took a few steps around the room, the quiet pressing in on her. Facing her fears seemed like a monumental task, yet she recognized that avoiding the challenge only stunted her growth. What if she approached it differently? Instead of framing it as a burden, what if it became a source of strength? Taking a deep breath, she returned to her desk with a fresh perspective. Perhaps the article was an opportunity to ask, what did it mean to embrace flaws while chasing dreams? She could use her story not solely as an account of struggle, but as a beacon of hope. Time slipped away, and by late afternoon, she had reshaped her article into something deeper and more profound than before. The moment she pressed send again felt different. She was not just submitting an article, she was launching a piece of herself into the world. This time, assertiveness replaced doubt. Then came the unsettling thought, what if the editor rejected her revisions? The anxiety prickled the edges of her confidence. Could she withstand another blow? It was a choice. Yet again, she could retreat or she could embrace whatever came next. As she leaned back, fatigue washed over her. But the earlier relief had morphed into a complex concoction of pride and fear. Whatever happened next, she knew she was evolving. This process was as much about finding her voice as it was about confronting the unknown. She glanced at the clock, the hands ticking away steadily, a reminder that time would continue to move regardless of her fears. Just as she let out a breath that felt heavier than before, her phone rang again. The name attached to the message sent a fresh jolt through her, a follow-up regarding her revisions? This was it. The moment to face the next challenge, whatever it may be. She tucked her hair behind her ear, steadied her breath, and prepared herself for whatever awaited in that next message. Lisa stared at her phone, the screen illuminating her features with an unsettling glow. The message preview sparkled with anticipation, yet beneath it lurked an undercurrent of anxiety. She took a brief moment to make sure she was ready for whatever news was about to unfold. Lisa, I really appreciated your submission. Could we discuss some minor adjustments? Relief washed over her momentarily, but it was quickly followed by a surge of nervous energy. Minor adjustments? In the world of editorial feedback, minor often translated into a kaleidoscope of emotions for writers, from joy to apprehension. The possibility of a conversation about her work felt daunting yet thrilling all at once as she was being seen, considered. As her fingers danced hesitantly over the screen, she typed a response, accepting the invitation to discuss the article further. A motley mixture of hope and worry filled her chest. She envisioned the conversation, probing questions aimed at unpacking the essence of her words, criticisms that, although constructive, still felt sharp. In the back of her mind, her daughter's voice echoed, a melodic reminder of the unfiltered resilience of a child. "Mom, you can do it," she would say, blue eyes radiating belief. That simple declaration became her anchor. It urged her to confront her fears directly, to stand up and fight for her voice. As the hours passed, Lisa prepared for the discussion with the editor, pacing the confines of her living room. Thoughts collided, each one a catalyst for anxiety. What if the feedback revealed an inadequacy she hadn't seen? She decided it was time to shift that narrative. Instead of viewing the feedback as a threat, she would embrace it as an avenue for growth. Her daughter's laughter rang through the hallway, a sound that grounded her in a different set of priorities. Lisa inhaled deeply, remembering that this wasn't just about her. Her willingness to learn and improve would model resilience, tenacity, and courage for her child. When the moment finally arrived, the video call began with her editor's warm smile. The above-the-screen perspective blurred the line between a professional and a personal conversation. Once Jessica, her editor, spoke, Lisa felt an unfamiliar resolve gather strength from within her. "Lisa, I see so much potential in your piece. The revisions are about fine-tuning your unique voice. Let us explore that aspect a bit more. The way Jessica articulated those words ignited something within her. There was no judgment, no condemnation, just a collaborative spirit, and an invitation to dive deeper into her truth. With each suggestion Jessica provided, Lisa felt the tension in her shoulders loosen. Talk to me about that moment with your daughter. How did it feel? What was she really teaching you? Jessica pressed gently. Lisa hesitated, unearthing an emotional well that had been resting quietly beneath her surface. It was a moment of discovery for both of us, I suppose. I wasn't only shaping her perception of the world. She was shaping mine. In those moments I realized that I had built a wall around myself, a barrier of expectation and fear. Jessica nodded, facilitating a space where Lisa could articulate her heart. That's powerful. What if we framed the article around that mutual understanding? Between a mother and daughter? How they navigate vulnerability together. Lisa's heart raced with excitement. It clicked. She could allow herself to be seen through her relationship with her daughter, framing vulnerability as a bridge rather than a fissure. The thought invigorated her. This was more than a revision. It was a partnership in self-discovery. With the ideas flowing, Lisa recognized a glimmer of truth shining through the fog of her doubts. The editor's insights melded with her own aspirations. Yes, the journey might still be intimidating, but it was also filled with potential connections both with her readers and herself. As they wrapped up the call, Lisa felt lighter. There was an understanding that resonated far beyond the article itself. She was stepping into a new version of herself, one that could confront challenges with grace and resolve. Back at her desk, Lisa opened her laptop, propelling herself to a new draft that felt both familiar and fresh. But as her thoughts cascaded, a troubling question wormed its way back into her mind. What other truths lie buried beneath her surface, waiting to be unearthed? Just how many layers were still untouched in her pursuit of authenticity? The realization left her breathless, teetering on the brink of a deeper exploration. As she prepared to navigate these newly discovered depths of her soul, she couldn't shake the mounting sense that something bigger was at stake, and it beckoned her to dive deeper into the unfathomable truth, not just as a writer, but as a mother and as a woman. The soft hum of her laptop filled the room as Lisa resumed her writing, fully immersed in the depths of her thoughts. Each word felt like a thread, weaving her new narrative into a grander tapestry. The earlier anxiety began to morph into exhilaration, and for the first time, she felt empowered to excavate the raw layers of her life. With every keystroke, she uncovered memories that had floated on the surface of her consciousness, eluding her grasp until now. Her daughter's innocent perspective prompted Lisa to consider the times she had dimmed her own light to protect others. It was a realization laden with complexity. She had often thought of selflessness as a virtue, but maybe at times it had been a disservice. What if her experiences, her struggles, her triumphs could resonate with others who felt similarly silenced? Mom, you can do it. The words echoed in her mind like a gentle incantation, urging her to explore deeper truths. Fueled by intention, Lisa began outlining not just her article but also her own journey of vulnerability, the transformative strength that came from facing fears, rather than retreating from them. With intentional focus, she allowed new ideas to coalesce in her mind. But as the hours melted away, she hesitated, paralyzed by an unsettling sensation, a whisper of self-doubt that sliced through her newfound determination. What if she exposed her heart only to be met with criticism or disbelief? Was she prepared to share not just her writing but her entire self with the world? Riveted by the prospect of exploring these vulnerabilities, Lisa reached instinctively for her phone, seeking validation in the digital realm. But the screen only mirrored her, offering no comfort. The familiar tension wrapped around her like a chokehold. In a defining moment, she decided to confront the dread. "What are you afraid of?" she asked herself aloud. The room fell silent in response. Perhaps it was this very fear that had kept her bound to a narrative embroidered with impeccable restraint. Digging into her memories of childhood, of laughter, love, and the robust authority of her ideas, the words threatened to spill over. What if she let them? With an involuntary breath, her fingers darted across the keyboard again. The keys clicked with renewed ferocity as she transformed her fears into fuel. Thoughts materialized about the ways she had ignored her voice, the subtle teachings from her daughter that illuminated her path, nudging her like the softest breeze towards authenticity. Each paragraph consisted of a ballet between the personal and professional, revealing not only her evolution as a mother, but also as a writer stepping into her power. Recognizing this duality, she began to understand that every layer she peeled back emerged not as a vulnerability but as a strength. As she drafted, the shadows of doubt still loomed, creeping into her heart. Inhaling deeply, she closed her eyes for a moment. Where would her honesty take her? The uncertainty lingered, but beneath it, a powerful current thrummed. This was nothing short of liberation. Diving back into her work, Lisa meticulously crafted sentences that resonated with bravery, inviting readers to share in her roller coaster of emotions. She realized that every word was a small revolution not only for herself but for anyone who had felt similarly lost in their narratives. The sun dipped low in the sky, casting an amber glow across the room as she neared the end of her rewrite. Exhausted yet exhilarated, Lisa paused and reflected on the transformative experience of the day. This article wasn't simply a piece of writing, it had become a vessel for her authentic self, a testament to her growth. But just as she read through the final lines, a thought struck her like lightning. Encouraging change often requires confronting deep-rooted fears. What other truths lay dormant, waiting to be challenged? Was she truly ready to let the world witness all facets of her story? This battle between revealing and protecting was far from over. As she spun in her chair, the vortex of emotions roiling inside her suggested that a more profound decision awaited. Just how far was she willing to go on the path to authenticity? With this potent tension hanging in the air like an unsaid promise, she found herself staring at the blank space beside her, an invitation perhaps to draft the next chapter not just of her work but of her life. As Lisa sat in her chair, the darkness outside deepening into night, the blank space on the screen loomed like a void, daring her to fill it. She leaned back, wrestling with the conflicting impulses surging within her. The words she had written ignited a fire in her chest, yet the flames flickered under the weight of uncertainty. A chilling thought floated to the surface. What if this honest expression of self led to a backlash she wasn't ready to face? The question echoed relentlessly in her mind, the fear always lurking at the edges of creativity. She felt the urge to shield herself from potential pain, that instinct rooted deep in her psyche. For years, she had played the role of the protector, carefully weaving her identity around the needs and expectations of others, believing it was a noble sacrifice. But hadn't her daughter taught her otherwise? Did she not owe herself the chance to breathe life into her words? With purpose, she placed her hands on the keyboard again, channeling her trepidation into clarity. What if I'm not alone in this? She pondered as she began to write. Each word unspooled like a life jacket tossed into turbulent seas, offering someone somewhere the hope she yearned for. She began drafting a section that explored motherhood, not just as a role filled with joy but as a labyrinth of choices and sacrifices, a tightrope walk between love and expectation. As the ideas flowed, Lisa realized she was not just documenting her struggles. She was breaking ground for a dialogue about authenticity that transcended her own story. With every line, she felt the shackles of inauthenticity loosening their grip. Her vulnerabilities weren't shrouds hiding her true self, they were badges of honor, proof of resilience. Suddenly her phone vibrated beside her, disrupting her reverie. Startled, she glanced at the screen. Her editor's name flashed in a text. Excited to discuss your draft tomorrow. Let us dive into the personal elements. For a moment, exhilaration mingled with dread. Would she dare share the rawness of her narrative? The looming meeting felt like a double-edged sword. It could either propel her into the next level of her career, or expose the fragile undercurrent of her insecurities. It was a reckoning, and she sensed it as a pivotal point for her professional development. Deciding then and there, Lisa made a choice. She wouldn't back down, she would confront this. A tingling determination pulsed through her veins. Turning the screen back to her draft, Lisa committed to digging deeper into her story. Describing how her identity had shifted throughout her parenting journey, she pinpointed moments of doubt when her laughter felt hollow or her successes dimmed by comparisons to others. Each recollection carved away at the facade she had painstakingly built, layer by layer. Yet the fear still clung to her like a second skin. The thought of exposing her flaws gnawed at the edges of her resolve. Did her story hold universal truths or simply her own echo? With every keystroke, She felt the tension rising, a visceral reminder that authenticity was a double-edged sword. But wasn't that the essence of growth? I am more than my fears, Lisa confessed to herself, an affirmation imbued with conviction. A quiet strength began to rise, ushering in a clarity that felt revolutionary. As she transmogrified her doubts into prose, an idea shimmered in the periphery of her mind. She was no longer just a writer. She was a trailblazer forging pathways through her vulnerabilities. The final touches morphed from mere words into spells of empowerment that would resonate with others facing their battles in silence. Suddenly, she paused, her breath hitching in a moment of revelation. What if this journey wasn't solely about her story? What if liberating herself meant inspiring others to embrace their narratives too? Visions of her daughter's encouraging smile flashed before her eyes, energizing her resolve once again. The thought of impact, real, tangible impact, propelled her fingers back to the keyboard. But as she began to type, a lingering question scattered through her thoughts. What would happen when she ventured into unknown territories of her own life? Would she truly be prepared for the truths that lay ahead? The stakes had become palpable, and Lisa knew she was on the precipice of something essential. Uncertainty loomed on the horizon like a shadow that could engulf her, or a promise awaiting to be fulfilled. Was she ready to leap into this abyss? Ready to commit to a path that could lead to greater authenticity, or unravel the carefully constructed narrative she had crafted over the years? With her heart pounding, she took a deep breath, poised for the journey ahead, and knew she needed to take that leap not just for herself, but for the unspoken stories of countless others who yearned for their voices to be heard. What awaited her beyond this threshold remained unknown, but she sensed the clock ticking down to a pivotal moment. Would she commit to unraveling the depths of her experience? The sun broke through the morning haze, illuminating Lisa's workspace with a gentle glow that felt almost like an embrace. She blinked against the brightness, her mind still wrapped in the lingering remnants of the night's resolve. Today was the day she would confront her editor, and with that thought came both anticipation and anxiety. Settling into her chair, she took a moment to breathe deeply, allowing herself to revel in the stillness before plunging into the storm that lay ahead. The draft flared on the screen before her, a battleground of vulnerability where every paragraph begged for authenticity. But today was different. Today, she felt empowered. Today, the weight of her story wouldn't obscure her voice but amplify it. As she prepared for the meeting, Lisa internally mapped out her approach. She needed to be direct while weaving her emotions into the narrative. It was not merely her struggles she wished to share, but the truths behind them, the lessons learned, the virtues of resilience. Each phrase carried the potential to resonate, and with each thought, the butterflies of doubt in her stomach were starting to transform into a fire of determination. Perhaps she could frame her journey around pivotal moments that had defined her, a collage of emotions illustrating the dichotomy of motherhood and self-identity. The sacrifices made in the name of love, the silent battles waged against self-doubt, and the eventual awakening of her voice could form the crux of her piece. Her mind raced ahead to the potential of her words, and for the first time, she could see their impact like ripples spreading out across a vast lake. As she set off for the meeting, the neighborhood around her buzzed with life. Yet, even amid the chaos, she felt a quiet sense of purpose. She recalled each moment spent with her daughter, each insightful question that sparked a reflection within her, a reminder that her story was not solely hers to share but connected to broader experiences around self-acceptance and authenticity. Arriving at the cafe where she was to meet her editor, she found a spot near a window, letting the sun warm her skin. As her editor approached, all nerves momentarily abandoned her. Alex was a familiar presence, and she appreciated his straightforwardness. "Excited to hear how you've been thinking through your drafts," he said, settling into a chair. "What direction are you leaning toward?" Lisa took a deep breath, steadying her pulse. "I want to discuss how I've navigated the complexities of motherhood, not just the joys, but the silent suffering, the illusions of perfectionism. I plan to highlight vulnerability as a strength, an avenue of connection." Alex leaned forward, intrigued. "That's powerful. Authenticity resonates." The conversation unfolded seamlessly, a dance around her fears and aspirations. With every exchange, Lisa felt the nuance of her narrative sharpen. Discussion not only validated her direction but revealed an insight that had lingered just out of reach. She possessed the ability to confront societal notions of motherhood, To challenge the ideals that often left many feeling isolated and inadequate. In the midst of the dialogue, however, an unexpected challenge emerged. Alex probed deeper. Have you considered how the backlash might feel? Lisa's heart raced, not from fear, but a realization dawning upon her. Confronting the potential negativity became less daunting. Yes, I've thought about it, but I believe that by laying bare my imperfections, I can invite others to do the same. If I hold back for fear of judgment, who does that ultimately serve? The question hung in the air with suffocating tension. Through her editor's gaze, she could sense an acknowledgement she was moving toward a deeper understanding of her mission. As they wrapped up, Alex's final encouragement revitalized her spirit. You're onto something, Lisa. Don't shy away from the hard truths. That's where the real depth lies. Driving home, a flood of mixed emotions swept over her. This new boldness stirred something profound within. She had begun to carve her identity out of the very fears that once held her captive. Embracing uncertainty felt liberating, but the challenge did not abate. It loomed larger as she questioned what would come next. What if this newfound bravery opened doors to revelations hidden in her past? Was she ready to confront connections to her daughter that could reaffirm or challenge her own growth? Lisa's fingers tapped rhythmically against the steering wheel as she drove. The forthcoming chapters of her life unfurled like the pages of a book waiting for her pen, poised to uncover deeper layers of her experiences. The stories still hidden felt far more powerful than the one she'd already begun to share. She approached her home, the evening sky painted with the hues of a sunset, signaling the end of one day and the beginning of another. Inside, as she cradled a cup of tea in her hands, she closed her eyes, bracing for the deeper truths that awaited her in that introspective space. Little did she know that the next conversation she would engage in with herself would prove to be the most transformative yet. Would she be ready to explore the shadows of her past and emerge with the strength of her narratives? The dawn of a new day greeted Lisa with a profound sense of clarity. She awoke with a renewed commitment to not only support her daughter's dreams, but also to fortify her own identity. Each morning from then on, the gentle warmth of the sun primed her determination, igniting a fire within her, a fire she had neglected for too long. Lisa quickly established a rigorous routine that allowed her to balance her freelance writing and a part-time job she had taken at the local clinic. She reveled in the newfound energy that permeated her life. It was invigorating to push past the boundaries of her previous limitations and redefine her potential. She soon recognized that her ability to thrive depended on managing her time effectively, setting boundaries, and prioritizing her mental health. Every morning began with pushing aside self-doubt and affirming her own worth. As days turned into weeks, Lisa began to receive responses on her articles, receiving not just feedback but positive reinforcement. A local publication picked up her story about resilience in parenting, and it garnered an appreciative audience. The recognition from her peers cemented her belief in her voice. Your words resonate, people told her. You're making an impact. Such affirmations became a lifeline, fueling her passion and merging her experiences with the collective journey others shared. Meanwhile, Emily flourished in her scholarly pursuits, inspired by her mother's radical transformation. The little girl who feared the boundaries of her opportunities was turning into a confident applicant for medical school, unfurling aspirations that seemed distant mere months earlier. With every challenge Emily faced in her studies, Lisa was there not just as an observer, but as a participant in her daughter's journey, sharing wisdom and encouragement that encapsulated their shared resilience. Emily's acceptance into a prestigious pre-med program was a monumental moment in their lives, celebrating their dreams intertwining beautifully. The bond they forged during this tumultuous chapter deepened as conversations flowed freely without the restraints of past fears. Emily's excitement reverberated through their home while Lisa's newfound confidence provided a sturdy foundation for exploration. One evening, as they sat on the porch discussing future goals, Emily turned to Lisa, brow furrowed. "Mom, how did you become so strong?" she asked, the question tinged with awe. Taking a moment to gather her thoughts, Lisa realized an honest reflection was necessary. "I had to unlearn my fears, Em. I realized there was strength in vulnerability. I faced my insecurities instead of running away from them. And now I feel like I've uncovered parts of myself that were always there waiting for me to be brave enough to embrace them." As they both stared into the honeyed sunset, It became clear to Lisa that she had not just transformed professionally or economically. She had evolved as a mother, becoming an embodiment of the principles she hoped to instill in Emily: resilience, courage, authenticity. The house, once a silent prison, now echoed with laughter, scholarly debates, and a sense of belonging. When she received a final note from her editor regarding her recent piece, it was affirmation that she had truly arrived at a new state of self-awareness. "Your voice is invaluable," the note read. "Continue nurturing that authenticity, Lisa. It inspires." With that, she stepped into her role wholeheartedly, preparing for her next piece, one that would delve into the complexities of the evolving relationships mothers and daughters face, which highlighted growth and the shared journey towards empowerment. Standing tall before a mirror, she took a deep breath and smiled at the person looking back. This was not just Lisa the writer, nor the overworked nursing professional. She was Lisa, the empowered woman who honored her own story as part of a larger tapestry. As Emily stepped into her future, Lisa stepped into hers, fully aware that this journey had only just begun. The path forward glimmered with promise, radiating confidence that she could embrace any unfolding narrative. No longer was she shrouded in fear. She had learned to harness that power and transform it into a guiding light. The past had taught her invaluable lessons, but her future mattered most, and with tenacity, she would carve every word of it. This was the moment where her story blossomed, and it felt like home. Now let us ensure you don't miss a single moment of these transformative journeys. You need to subscribe now to our channel to stay connected with the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to help our message reach more hearts. Seriously, your support makes a difference. Comment below your reactions and theories about Lisa's inspiring journey. We want to hear from you. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see the strength and vulnerability and growth. Together, let us spread the power of personal transformation.